Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kinetic Chaos Podcast Live, number 42. We're red hot and rolling into our 40s. We're finally past my age, so that's a good thing.
It's
right?
a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a great feeling to finally be past the big 401. That's pretty exciting. So, we've already done sound check. We got everything set up. We are ready to rock and roll in just 1 second. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thursday out there. I'm going to bring us up on the old feed ski. I think ski. There we are. Hey, look at
Fancy.
that. Fancy dancy. Okay, let's get scooted in here with the big boys. Make sure that we're not off kilter. Okay, I got the sun right in my eye. Didn't do my hair today, Wes. This is a first for us, and I'm not even rocking a hat. Okay, here we go. 3, 2. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. This is Kinetic Chaos Podcast number 42. I am your host, Will, joined as always by my good friend, Wes.
I am right here.
He is to my left, as he always is. One day he tried to switch it up and go to my right, and we almost had to cancel the entire podcast.
Yeah, mess with the chi.
Yeah, total chi. No, you can't mess with me like that, because once I can only go right. I can't hit you with the killer crossover like Allen Iverson could back in the old days. So, no, just hit the mic. So, anyway, we're ready to rock and roll for a great Thursday broadcast going into a wonderful weekend, because Wes has multiple days off, and he couldn't be any more excited than he is right now. Am I right?
That's right. 1 day to go.
One day until now we start. This is a 3-day weekend coming up, correct?
Oh no, 4.
No. Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you get it, because that may be something good that's coming. So let's get into that right now. Do you want me to start, or do you want to start on something good?
Up to you.
I will take the helm on this one then. I've got to say something good that's happened to me since the last time we broadcast was the fact that I have been meeting our neighbors around here, and all of them have been awesome. We had the other night on Tuesday night, Jill, a couple houses down and across the street, stopped by, brought us some popcorn. Totally nice of her, out of the blue. I think she drove by and saw us, waved, came on over, and we sat and chatted for probably at least a half an hour or so. And then just a little bit ago, before we hit the record button, met the new neighbors to our west. They have 4 kids, including twins.
Oh, wow.
So, and the twins are starting kindergarten, but they'll be going to Gauze, not halfway.
Oh, yeah, because they're over on this side, yep.
So, they were really cool, and met the neighbor right next door. He's a super nice guy as well, and I overheard our neighbor just next door on the other side talking about us on the phone the other day. I think it was good. We were walking by on our way to the river, and she was on the phone. Now, she said, what did she say? I heard her say something, and then she said, I have new neighbors, and then I didn't hear her.
There's some weird guy that talks to himself in the backyard.
Yeah, exactly. There's 2 guys that sit in front of microphones and talk to themselves. Yeah, exactly. So, no, that's I just find that to be incredibly fun, and everyone has been so welcoming, and it seems to be happy to have us in the neighborhood.
That's awesome. They
haven't had Brandon's truck fire up at 5:30 in the morning, so we're keeping everyone in our good graces because of that. So I've got to be thankful to have all kinds of wonderful neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can have some maybe fun barbecues or something like that down the road. So what do you got going on?
My good thing is that my daughter had her kindergarten orientation just like an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Just came from that straight here to record, and so she's all dialed in, met her teacher, went to her classroom. She's got her own little cubby with her name on it.
Nice.
And her own little desk area. And it's a cool little setup.
It is a cool setup. Now, you told me something right before we started when we were talking about it, about the size of her class, and I found that kind of incredible that it was the size that it is.
Yeah, she only has 16 kids in her class, and I was very pleased to see that it was so small, because I was figuring like low to mid 20s kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 16 kids in the class, and actually talking to her teacher. I think her teacher's been teaching the kindergarten level for like 8 or 9 years, and she said this is like her second smallest class ever. So
wow,
hopefully it stays that way and no latecomers come in, because it's kind of be nice for her to have a small class.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool, because I was actually astounded because most of the time, I mean, we always hear about classroom overcrowding and all that stuff, and we have people in, you know, classes in the 20 to 25 kid range. I know when Derek went to school out in Vancouver, his classes easily had 24 or 25 kids in them. So, do you have any idea how that is really awesome? And I apologize, my air compressor just went off, so I'm actually going to have Wes take the helm for just a second while I run over and I kill that. So, continue to, maybe you want to talk about the good news story of the day?
Good news story, yeah. It is a 105-year-old Navy veteran who went back and got his college diploma. He was what he thought was a few credits short of graduating way back when. That would be 83 years ago. He thought he was a few credits short, and so he basically, at that point, it's when the war was breaking out, so he decided just to not bother coming back for his last semester of college and just joined up for the war effort instead. So went all these many years, and I don't know what caused somebody, and this was at San Diego State University, I don't know what caused somebody to go back and check, but somebody checked his records, and it turns out he wasn't short credits. He actually had enough credits to graduate. So they called him up and say, hey, you actually have a diploma waiting for you here. You weren't short.
Are you kidding?
And so 83 years later, at 105 years old, he goes back down to San Diego State and gets his college diploma.
No kidding. And you said he was how old?
He's 105.
105 years, and he traveled at that age.
Yeah, I don't know if he lived in here, but it said he went to San Diego State. I mean, he traveled to San Diego State. It's not saying he couldn't live kind of nearby, but I don't know how far away he came from. But
traveling to the driveway at that age has got to be, that's got to be like some kind of big event for the day.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool. 83 years later, he goes back and gets his diploma.
That is incredible. I'm going to piggyback on that with the old guy thing.
Yeah.
And I read a story today that I was actually going to bring up possibly for the good news story. I saw it on the news. This guy that was 95 or 100, I think he was actually 100. 77 years ago, he lost his wallet and it was returned to him.
Whoa.
Somehow they tracked him down because his name was, this is how you know it's from the old days, it was embroidered inside the wallet.
Wow.
And somebody, after all of these years, tracked him down and returned the wallet to him.
That's insane.
With the contents in it.
That's
so
awesome.
That's on the, I don't mean to...
No.
I just, two old guys and that kind of... It's interesting that two things like that happen so close together with guys that are over 100 years old or 100 or over. Because not many people make it to 100.
No.
I don't know that I want to make it to 100.
I guess it depends on how spry you are still at that age, you know.
I'm like, I like the Hunter S. Thompson outlook on the end of life, which is I want to come in skidding sideways, body smoking, saying, damn, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Rather than going, well, I'm well preserved,
just
but
fizzing out at the end,
but I didn't have any fun doing it. So not that it has to do with, kind of Hunter S. Thompson-esque drug and alcohol abuse, but more along the lines of experiences and fun things and whatnot. So that's kind of my outlook on that. So based on that, I don't know that I'm going to make it to 100, but we'll see. It would be, I don't know if it'll be fun. We'll see when we get there, right?
Yep.
Well, today,
whenever.
Yeah, exactly. We this is a freestyle episode here from the secret underground bunker. Last night we actually recorded another Kinetic Kids podcast that will drop on Monday. And we recorded that one in the actual underground bunker. We were subgrade, and we recorded it after 10 o'clock, but Derek and I had a lot of fun doing that, so look out for that coming up on Monday, and kind of fun stuff with that.
Cool.
So I just wanted to drop a little promo for that. But the first thing in the hot sheet here, we've got Venezuela doing something radical, which is not hard to believe. Am I right?
Yeah, this is kind of a hot sheet item / a follow-up because we talked about this before with the rampant inflation. They were discussing removing 5 zeros from the currency, and now they announced they are going to actually do it. They're going through with it, and they're also going to do a couple other things to try to curb the inflation and curb their economy tailspin. One of which is raising their gas prices to the international average, because evidently they have the cheapest gas price in the world right now.
Really?
Which makes sense because they're so oil rich.
Yeah.
But what that has led to, they say, is a bunch of people coming across the border and buying cheap gas
And then leaving.
taking it back to their Brazil or wherever next door. So they're going to raise their gas prices to meet the the international average. And then the other, and perhaps the most ridiculous one, is they are raising their minimum wage by 3,000%.
Because, hey, why not?
Yeah.
Let's take the zeros and then let's raise I read this yesterday, and it doesn't surprise me whatsoever, but in the bass-ackwards world of economics in a socialist country, how does this make sense? Does it make sense to you?
No. And obviously this is just basically like monopoly money, because now they're going to play with it and lop off 5 zeros off the end. And so as it stands now, to show you how much like monopoly money their currency is, it's the Bolivar is the name of their currency.
Yep.
To
Not
buy
the Boulevard.
to buy a cup of coffee, it's 2 million.
2 million.
2 million Bolivar for a cup of coffee. So if you lop 5 zeros off of that, then we're down to what, $200 for a cup of coffee instead of 2 million. So
Well, hey, at least I feel better about
feel a
it.
little better about that, yeah.
Hey, they're almost to Starbucks prices.
That's right.
Pretty soon, a latte will be $300 or $400.
No, I take that back. I was wrong. I missed a zero. So that's $20 for a cup of coffee.
$20
instead of 2 million.
Look
so.
at the brains on
That's
Bradford,
right.
because neither one of us caught that.
Yeah, I was
immediately.
having trouble counting my zeros.
I just had my fingers out and I lost count. So, no, that's it's obnoxious, but it's
Yeah.
not surprising whatsoever
No.
that they would take something that they could actually have an impact on by using their oil for what it should be used for. Oh no, let's make it even more, like you said, monopoly money and more fake and more of a laughing stock to the world.
Yeah.
You have a gold mine sitting under your ground and you still don't use it like you could. But we'll see. What do you think's going to happen? We'll go to our what I like to do, see how far this is going to go. Do you think they're going to end up having to take another zero off or add another zero to the minimum wage?
At this point, I don't know what stands between them and just like a total toppling of the government. The citizens, doing an uprising and just overthrowing the government, because this is obviously not going to fix the situation. What they're doing here, they're just going to keep imploding further, and at some point, there's going to be enough of the population that gets desperate enough. They already are desperate. They don't have toilet paper or bread or anything. There's going to be an uprising. It's going to be like a full-blown coup and overthrow of the government to try to, because that's the only way that's going to, because this dude's not going to leave power. Obviously, he's going to keep this rolling the way it is. So,
does the IMF have any way to impact this whatsoever?
I wouldn't think so. The only thing that would be other. And I don't know who they're friendly with, and they're not they're not like a part of NATO or anything. But what international conglomerations they may or may not be a part of. Anyway, I don't know if they're part of OPEC or not.
I don't actually believe they are, but don't ask me, because I don't.
So
I don't know.
The only way you could probably really start putting the screws to them is the old tariffs, maybe, but that doesn't solve any problems.
No.
So to me, I see the only way this ends is badly, and that would be with a whole toppling of the government, probably.
Yeah. Well, that's not good, but we're at least it makes for interesting discussion to see something like this, because in my lifetime I don't think I've seen. We've seen Russia has had issues with their currency and things like that, but not to this extent.
No.
This is waters that we have not touched, at least that I've seen. So.
Yeah.
As we get to number 2 here, we've got bad news about Mollie Tibbetts, who this is kind of another follow-up that we had talked about, and they've found her. So.
Yeah, it's the 2 pieces of the story since we last talked is that they did in fact find her body, and it was located in a cornfield. It was one of the fields that they were kind of honing in on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was either later that same day, maybe it was the following day. They announced that they had arrested a suspect in her disappearance. They had evidently had some surveillance footage of him driving this car near her, while she was jogging, and so they picked him up. And then come to find out, he's a 24-year-old illegal alien from Mexico, and the story takes kind of a couple interesting twists, one of which is the typical twist we see in these situations where the mainstream media is afraid to use the term illegal.
Right.
I pulled up a couple of headlines the day that they identified who he was, and on MSN.com, their main headline was that an immigrant was arrested in the murder.
Really?
Well, all that does, that makes the regular law-abiding immigrants look bad.
Absolutely.
Because you're broad brushing them and painting illegals with the legals, you know. So but they're afraid to use the term illegal because that's got such a negative connotation. But the other interesting thing, and I haven't gone back to check to see if they've figured out if this is true or how this would have happened if it is true, is his employers he was working for, he worked on a farm, and they claim that they ran him through E-Verify and he came back clean.
How does that happen?
Yeah, so that's a little funny there. So whether or not they're lying to cover their own butt, saying, oh, we checked him out, you know, it's not our fault that he was here illegally because we did our due diligence. So whether or not they're lying about doing their due diligence, or if in fact they did run him through the system and somehow there was some, you know,
that's a pretty
glitch in the system.
Glitch in the system, if you will, to have something like that. This feels like a gigantic CYA job. Cover your ass.
Yeah, that's what I would think. But I guess I don't think we're done with this yet. I'm sure we'll hear some additional stuff going forward.
But I mean, like we talked about last podcast, I'm glad that, or I don't know if it was 41 or 40, but I'm glad that they're going to have closure. That they're going to have some finalization to the whole process. It's incredibly sad that this was the end, but it is one of those things that is an important piece to the story, I believe, and in my opinion. So. But number 3, we've got a Nazi prison guard that was deported. Yep.
He's been living kind of halfway in the shadows because they knew about him. They just weren't aware of weren't sure exactly where he was living. But they did capture him in New York City. He's a 95-year-old guy, and he was a guard at a Nazi prison camp back during the First World War. They actually located him and drew up deportation paperwork for him back in 2004, 14 years ago. And this is kind of weird, I don't know how this works, but they said that both Germany and Poland refused to take him.
Really?
So I guess you can't force them to take their own citizen back. I don't know how that works, but anyway, so they said Germany and Poland refused to take him, and while they were trying to figure out something else, he was out on like bail, so to speak, but he wasn't actually physically detained. And so while they were trying to figure out what to do with him, he just kind of vanished and
into thin air.
And for 14 years, they lost track of him for another 14 years until just now they found him. And they did get Germany now to agree to take him back, so he was deported to Germany. He's already gone.
No kidding. So I wonder if that was a law or something back in 2004. Why the change in 14 years?
Right, that is weird.
That is very odd. And was he hanging out with Whitey Bulger? Is that why they couldn't find him for so long? Because that's a guy that was really good at being not seen.
Yep.
So, well, hey, at least he's finally getting his due.
Yeah, exactly right.
And going back to where he needs to. I don't know what you do with a 95-year-old guy.
Exactly, yeah, at this point, yeah.
But it's, well, at least, like I said, another piece to the puzzle that helps complete that. So, number 4, University of North Carolina, an old statue they decided to toppled. They bring it down. How's that work?
Little vigilante thing in the middle of the night. Yeah, this is a statue known as Silent Sam. It was erected as a monument to a Confederate soldier, erected in 1913 on the campus of University of North Carolina. And as we've seen all through the South recently in the last year or two, that these people are taking it upon themselves, the social justice warriors, to go out and try to, take these things down. And it's a two thing. Obviously, it's illegal to do something like that, but it more importantly, it sets a bad precedence because that's all you're doing is erasing history. You're supposed to learn from history. And we talked about this a long time ago when they first were doing some of this stuff.
Yeah, this was back in our single digit episode.
Yeah, this is way back when we first got started. And this is obviously, you need to learn from history, not erase it and not pretend that it never happened. And just because you don't agree with something or something makes you uncomfortable, to try to just erase that from history. That's not the way to go about it.
Not whatsoever, because we're supposed to learn from it. There's a reason that we have these things, and we have history books. It's not like we're going and lighting all of our history books on fire because we disagree with whether it's World War II and dropping an atom bomb, or
Right.
Vietnam, whatever it is. We want to learn from these things and try to avoid them, and that's what it's about. And just because something is bad doesn't mean that it shouldn't be part of our history. I mean, a lot of these things, whether it's Robert E. Lee, any of these things,
Right.
and you don't have to agree with it. I'm not a fan of the Confederate flag, but that doesn't mean that I can sit there and tell somebody that they can't fly it. I mean,
Right.
this goes back to our freedom of speech thing and all of that. Whoever these folks are that believe that they're so superior to us that they've invented this newfound being sense of offendedness. That's not a word, but because these statues have been here forever. When did you say that it was erected?
1913.
So it's been here this long, so 105 years.
Yep.
So I mean, how do we go this long, and then all of a sudden, because of the mainstream media or whatever, and I know we bang on that a lot, but why is it now that these things, not 1986 or 1964 or whatever it may
Right.
be? The same thing with the like Robert E. Lee and those kind of statues that they've been taking down. That it doesn't change our history.
Right, exactly.
Because it's not there, do you think people are going to forget about it?
Exactly.
No, not whatsoever. Because again, the books are still there. The internet has all the information. So
Yep.
that's again, but and I think it's not going to. Well, hello Bronx, how are you? I'm glad that we have our one member of our studio audience.
The mascot.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean these folks are not going to stop. Bronx, get back. Hey, go lay down. Sorry, guys. Let's get back. Okay, or not. Anyway, so that is what it is, and it's not going to. Hopefully, it's going to get better, but I've got a really good feeling that it's probably not. So,
Probably not.
Number 5, I think we're both on the market for this for Kinetic Chaos, so that we can get to each of our new locations that we'll be recording at.
It's
We've
gonna
got
be
the
a business write-off.
Yeah, exactly. The world's most expensive private jet has gone on sale. I thought maybe if Air Force One was decommissioned,
Yeah.
get the heck back. Leave Wes alone. The Air Force One could have been that, but no.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So this is a 747-800, which is actually bigger than Air Force One because they use the old 200 derivative.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a stretched out version of Air Force One, so this is bigger and better and newer. And it's the Qatari royal family has decided to let this one go. I don't know if they're upgrading to maybe the A380 or something like that. But
Wouldn't they get a Dreamliner?
yeah, that's smaller.
Yeah.
So anyway, some little factoids on this plane itself. It has 10 bathrooms. It has an operating room.
Really?
Yeah. So if like somebody gets shot, they can
On the plane in the air?
Well, no, but I mean like if they're like a overseas visit or something, they can whisk them away and do surgery on board kind of thing. So it kind of makes sense, kind of like you would see with an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
They have it on their own operating room, so it's kind of a self-contained little city. They have a 14-seat dining room table in the middle of this thing, and that also can be walled off and become a conference room as well, and just all sorts of little nooks and crannies that have little seating areas and stuff. There's tons of pictures of it online. It's really cool looking. So this, from the factory, if it was to be bought by a regular airline, it's designed to hold 467 people, and then with the usual coach seating and all that kind of stuff. But now that they've decked it out for themselves, the current capacity of this plane is 76 people.
Wow.
So it's 76 people can spread out in a plane that's normally designed for 467.
That'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
I think you and I could get by with that.
Yeah.
We may even allow, our spouses on.
Could we? Yep.
They wouldn't have access to the bathrooms because we need 5 each.
5 each.
Just depending on where we are in the aircraft at any given time, right?
And so, bottom line is, we can get this. So this can be yours.
This can be yours for
the low price of $500 million.
500. Wow.
So that's $500 million. So that Bezos can handle that.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised he's not jumping on this.
Well, and if we can apply some Venezuela logic to it and just lop off 5 zeros, I think we can do it, Wes.
We can get it for like a nickel.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should do some kind of GoFundMe for this.
There we
How
go.
fun would that be?
Let's see how far we can take that.
I think that might be a lot of fun. That would be a kick in the pants for us to...
Maybe we can raise 5 cents.
Yeah. I got a nickel for you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's wow. $500 million. And so how much would it cost, do we know, after all the upgrades, when it came off the line?
Yeah, I think the
after they did all their work.
Well, I think the standard issue price, like off the line, I want to say it's like I don't know, 50-ish million.
Okay.
So I mean they put in,
some bucks.
400 million worth of, because there's like gold-plated faucets and all the usual.
They
stuff
basically
like that,
brought Master P in and asked him to design the interior.
That's
and
right.
then they even said, okay, maybe the gold ceilings are a little much,
but
but we'll do it anyway. Can we get some diamond encrusted, toilet seats? How cool would that be?
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be cool. Anyway, so, that's gonna be the. That's going to be the hot sheet for today, and we're going to go into the flashback follow-up. And Paul Manafort has not had the best week.
No, he hasn't. His trial, or at least the first half potentially of his trial, has concluded. And I say the first half because there was a mistrial on some of the charges, and now they're deciding on whether or not they want to retry him on those mistried charges. So bottom line, he was found guilty on 8 of 18 charges, and a mistrial was declared on the other 10. Basically, they're all charges of bank and tax fraud is what he was rung up on. So the max sentence on these 8 charges he's been convicted of is 80 years. And like I said, there's still the DA is deciding on whether or not or the federal attorney, federal prosecutors deciding on whether or not to go back and try to retry those other 10 charges that they couldn't make a decision on. But
why waste the money?
Yeah, at this point,
he's not gonna see that ostrich jacket anytime soon.
Exactly.
Why burn another $2 million trying to prosecute him?
And this all something that gets misconstrued often in the media is his connection with Trump. But all these charges are way before Trump. These all predate him by decades. Mm-hmm. These are old bank and tax fraud charges. So these have nothing to do with the Trump campaign. However, as we segue into our second...
Or segue. No, we're not writing it. This is the other one.
As we go into our second flashback follow-up, this could have potential implications on the Trump presidency. That would be Michael Cohen, his former lawyer.
Talk about flipping.
Yeah. He flipped and threw Trump under the bus while he was at it. And so he came out and said... He basically copped a plea to these charges against him, and came out and said that Trump was the one that specifically ordered him to pay off Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels, both of them. And
which were campaign finance.
Yeah, and Trump claims no, those were his own. So then Trump comes out and claims that it was his own personal money, not the campaign money. But then this opens up the potential. This is where it gets sticky in terms of legal problems. This is how Clinton got himself into trouble, is that Trump has changed his story on this. He first started off by saying that he was not aware of any payment to these women whatsoever. And then he was asked about it a few days ago, and he changed his story now, and he said he wasn't aware of it until much later.
Later,
yeah,
like
well, whatever that means.
an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
2.
So he went from saying that he had no knowledge whatsoever to now that, oh yeah, I knew about it, and didn't find out about it until later. So, and same kind of thing happened with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton changed his story with the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, and he got brought up. He testified, and they caught him in a perjury trap because he changed his story. And so this gets really sticky with Trump here, is that I certainly wouldn't think he would cooperate with subpoena and testify under oath about anything. But if he were to, now he would be in danger of perjuring himself too, like Clinton did, if he, with these 2 different stories that he's been giving. So we're starting to enter a little bit of a slippery slope, and
I think it's more than a little bit slippery. And this is my big takeaway from that is, why did these guys continue to double, triple, quadruple down on these things when it's not the first time a president has had some kind of, misdeed outside of marriage, whatever. I mean, if we're looking at the grand scheme of things, most of them probably have had some kind of issue. Maybe not most. That's probably incorrect to say. But, I mean, Kennedy, Clinton. I don't know if Nixon was that type of guy, but or Jimmy. But
and I'm sure even predating them back in the day, I'm sure there's a lot of
absolutely
stuff going on.
And again, it's the cover-up is so much worse than the crime.
Yep.
Okay, having sex outside of your marriage is a bad thing, morally speaking, but in terms of running the country and things like that, it really doesn't have an impact other than you don't want to be a proponent of it. But when you bring up all this lying and stuff like that, that's when it's really a bad look for you.
Yeah.
Or as I've heard lately, a bad optic. This is a new thing that I've heard lately. But quit doing it, own it, and move on.
And the thing where Trump gets himself into trouble, and it's second nature to him because he just due to his personality. Due to his personality, he can't shut up. Is that he walks himself into these traps. And so I listened to the last couple of days, Ben Shapiro has been talking about this, and Shapiro just said, you just need to shut up and let your lawyers handle this. The more you talk, the worse it gets, and the fact that you've changed your story a couple times on how this has gone down. And then he continues to talk, saying, basically, defiantly talking about these accusations against him and daring people to come after him or whatever, and basically you're not doing yourself any favors at this point. So
none whatsoever.
So as Shapiro said, if he was smart, he would just shut up and focus on his job as president and let his lawyers handle all this other behind the scenes stuff. But with his personality, he just can't help himself.
Exactly. And we saw the tweet come out this morning that said, I'm basically poking the bear. If you need an attorney, don't hire Michael Cohen.
Right.
Why do
just
that?
Focus on your job.
Exactly. And he's got enough on his plate.
Yep.
And there's, whether it's tariffs, whatever it may be, this is something that you're exactly right. That's why you pay these attorneys all of these gobs of money. Let them handle it. Let them speak for you. Yeah. You don't see Stormy Daniels out there talking about this stuff. Usually it's her blowhard attorney.
Avenatti,
Avenatti, who, he's doing what he's getting paid a boatload of money to do, which is to represent her in the public and the private eye, and let her not sink her own ship.
Right.
Because that's what happens.
Yep.
When you are out there rallying for yourself, and if you're telling lies, you can't keep them all straight.
Yep.
When you've told someone, you've tangled, you've woven that web of lies, and it's incredibly hard to keep going back and trying to remember them and keep them straight. So obviously this is never going to go away whatsoever. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds and what does happen with Mueller and all that, because I'm sure he is just, he's got to be salivating at all of this stuff between Cohen and Manafort going down this week. It's been one heck of a week for those guys.
Yeah.
My goodness. So, well, it's freestyle time. It's we got the hard work, the heavy lifting out of the way. We've got a great weekend coming up. Everyone that's listening to the podcast, this is Friday. We hope you guys are ready to jacked up and have some fun this weekend. Wes and I are going to have. It's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe a little stinky. Might not have the best breath, but
there's not smell-o-vision that you
no,
have to
there
worry
is
about,
no smell-o-vision.
You're lucky.
And that's probably a good thing for multiple reasons, unless we're cooking, because we've got some. In fact, we were talking about our menu for some upcoming podcasts, and my goodness, I think I'm already getting hungry for it. Absolutely. So, do you want to start with the freestyle today?
Yeah, and I've got all top threes.
Do you?
Have some fun with this stuff. Yeah,
that's what I like to hear. Mine, I've got one top three.
Okay. So my first one is the top 3 sports moments in your lifetime that you remember. It doesn't mean you have had to have been there in person, but something a sports moment you saw on TV or that you were in attendance for. What are the top 3 sports moments of your lifetime that you remember?
So I'm going to first say this. I was going to have the exact same question for you.
Are you serious?
I am not joking. In fact, I took it off.
Oh, funny.
I was going to ask you, what are the top 3 sports moments that you remember in your lifetime. Damn near
That is
verbatim
funny.
what you just said. I took it off my list as we were doing this.
Wow.
Like, no, because I flipped it to the stinky breath stuff.
Oh, okay.
And because I have my 3.
Yep. That's awesome.
Because I didn't want it. Wow. See, great minds do
There
think
you go.
alike.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go in reverse reverse order of importance. So number 3 for me would probably be the when Oregon State won the Fiesta Bowl, beating the tar out of Notre Dame. That is one of the, like I said, number 3 for me, because it was the first time I had seen, as an Oregon State fan, because this was in 2001. It was the 2000 season. 2001 is when at the Fiesta Bowl down in Glendale, I believe.
Yes.
Down in Glendale, Arizona, and we were, for the fact that they almost were in the running for the national championship, save for a missed field goal attempt against the Washington Huskies, which caused a 3-way tie in the Pac-10, because we had the Pac-10 back then, in the pen, with my cousin Lynn and Ben. Anyway, so yeah, that was a tremendous moment for me. I remember where I was sitting. Mike and I lived together, and I remember just being so excited that they put the beat down. I believe it was 41-7 when it was all said and done.
Yeah.
And that whole season was incredible because, like I said, we only lost 1 game to the Huskies, and we had seen the Beavers coming back. They were not coming back because they really hadn't been there before. But to get to a level, even though it was under Dennis Erickson, Mike Riley started the ship in '98, getting Chad Johnson and these guys. Actually, I think Chad came in '99, but anyway, getting these guys. Yes, that was in my head too.
TJ Houshmazili.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that Dan Patrick that said that? I think Houshmazili was a Dan Patrickism, or somebody said that.
I don't remember, but no, that was an incredibly fun moment and my dad was alive, and so we got to share in the excitement. We didn't watch it together because he was in Alaska, but it was a really big deal to see the Beavers step up on the national stage and get some positive run. Not for the toilet bowl or anything like that. Oh, thanks, Tia. So what would be number 3 for you?
Number 3 for me would be the 1989 World Series, Giants versus A's. And the reason it was important or memorable for me was a specific game, and that is when the big one hit. I was living in the Bay Area when that series was going on.
No kidding.
And we got hammered with the 7.1 earthquake right at the start of the game. And we got the TV on, we're watching the game, and all of a sudden we're in the living room doing this thing.
No way.
And the TV's shaking at the same time. We're all undergoing the earthquake at the same time, so we hightail it to the door.
Yep.
And what the interesting thing is that, as you would expect during a big disaster like that the phone lines get jammed and it's right away. But my grandfather, who he's passed away since, but he lived in Wisconsin at the time, and he was a huge baseball fan, so he was watching the World Series. Mm-hmm. And he actually called us while the earthquake was still going, because as soon as he saw the camera shake, because he grew up in California, so he knew earthquakes. So as soon as he saw the TV shake, he knew there was an earthquake happening, so he jumped on the phone and called us right away to see if we were okay. So he was able to get through before the grid got jammed. And my mom answered the phone while standing in the doorway because the house was still shaking when he called.
Holy moly!
Because it was a really long earthquake. I think it was over 10 seconds. It was a really long one. So he was able to. He punched in our number right away and got right through while the earthquake was still going on.
No kidding. Yeah, because I remember. In fact, I was watching a thing several years ago about that, and Chris Berman was reporting live from the front of the stadium, and they went out to a long shot of because I believe one of the bridges collapsed.
Yep, Bay Bridge.
Yeah,
right,
and so they went out to that. But how incredible was that this was occurring on live TV? Because back then nothing was ever live. Usually, not in the sense that it is today.
Right. And
to see that, it was absolutely incredible.
And the other thing that was interesting is my dad was still at work. He worked at Moffett Field for NASA at that point. And I want to say it was maybe like a 20 to 30 minute commute roughly, normally. And he was at work when the earthquake happened, and as soon as it stopped, he jumped in his car to head home. He bailed out of work. And of course, by that time, it's gridlock because everybody's doing the same thing. And so, exactly. So, what normally was like a 20 to 30 minute commute, I think it took him about 2 hours to get home.
No kidding.
Because it was just gridlock everywhere.
Wow. Well, and having lived in Alaska and been through earthquakes, I mean, I know what it's like, how everyone, and up there and kind of down in the Bay, you get used to it to some degree. But, I mean, the whole earthquake thing is just, it's something that I wish everyone could go through because it's so surreal to have the earth move under your feet.
And the other thing, too, that was interesting, because obviously back in '89, this was before cell phones, is that we didn't know when he was going to be home because he was stuck in gridlock. He couldn't call us and say, hey, I'm stuck, it's going to be a while kind of thing. There was no cell phone, so we had no idea when he was going to be home.
Oh, my goodness. And it's scary because you don't know if he's all right or what's going on. Did he try to give you a call?
I can't remember if he was able to get through from work before he bailed out of work. I can't remember that. I just know my grandpa called while the earthquake was still going on. That one's stuck in my memory.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, to have that story and to have been there, that was
pretty a surreal feeling to have it. You're watching a national event being struck by an earthquake, which I think it's the only time it's ever happened before. And you actually experience the earthquake simultaneously while it's going on. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Okay, for number 2, because you've had the opportunity to think about this for a little bit, and I have not. I'm going to go. This is kind of a tie for me. I'm going to stick with this. This isn't not one of my favorite moments, but it's one of the most memorable moments, and I think that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
Kirk Gibson's home run.
That's my number 2.
Yes! Yes!
Oh, wow. Great minds indeed. Yep.
Yes,
You just stole
absolutely.
my number 2.
I remember sitting watching that, and because it was against the A's, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Dodgers A's. Yep.
Exactly. In '88.
That was the year before the earthquake. Yeah. It was '88 was that series, and the next year was '89. That was the earthquake series with the A's and Giants.
And I was a huge A's fan because of Mark McGwire.
Yeah.
I loved Mark McGwire because he was a first baseman, just like Donnie Baseball. Those were my 2 favorite players growing up. Was Don Mattingly and Mark McGwire.
Yep.
And so, in fact, I had Mark McGwire rookie card from when he played with the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. And so I had that for a long time. I don't know where it is now. But to watch Gibson do that, because there was, in my head, I was like, there's no way he's going to do anything. There's no way. And the ironic thing is I was listening to Pardon My Take the other day, the podcast, and they had Tommy Lasorda on. Holy moly, he talked about the moment.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, from him, his take on it, which was, I knew there was only one thing he could do. Because there was 2 outs. So it didn't matter what happened. He was either going to get out or hit a home run, and that's why he put him in. And because Gibson, I guess, was going to try to leave and go home. His wife was going to, like, during the game, go home because he was hurt. Yeah. And Lasorda's like, you're not going anywhere, and that's why he put him in, was because there was 2 outs. So you could either win the game or lose the game, one way or the other. Yeah. So that's it. Well, you number 2. Give me your take on it, though. Why it was important
just
to
that,
you.
and it was memorable because of the fact that Gibson was injured and he couldn't even walk, basically. But it was heartbreaking for me because I was an A's fan, and I thought we had it sealed, you know. And then Eckersley's in there. Eckersley's a shutdown closer. Yep, he's got no problem. And then all of a sudden, this thing comes out of nowhere. And it was funny because my dad's a diehard Dodgers fan, so he and I are
Sorry,
watching.
David.
When he's actually changed to a Cardinals fan now because of me. But back when I was younger, he was a Dodgers fan, so it was fun to watch that series with him because I was an A's fan, he was a Dodgers fan. But yeah, that was just, it was surreal. Like, are you kidding me?
This can't be happening.
Yeah, exactly. Just a total stunner.
That's the embodiment of sports, though. It's the highs, the lows, the adulation, and the absolute crushing defeat that your heart just gets ripped out of you. And that's why we like sports. That's why we love to watch, and why we put ourselves through that, because when you're on the flip side of it, it's unbelievable. And when you can say to your, like I've been able to say to my dad when the Beavers have beat the Ducks a couple of times, just suck it or whatever. It's what keeps bringing us back and letting us open our hearts up to being ripped out. Yeah. Or to have that just unbelievable happiness that comes from such a wonderful event like that. So I'm going to go with baseball, and I'm going to stick with the A's. and I'm going to say, oh no, it wasn't with the A's. It was with the Cardinals. It was when Big Mac hit 73. Did you? Yeah.
You had to know it's coming from me with McGuire. Yep.
I love it.
Oh, you're going to say 73. So we're different then, because I'm
Okay.
going 62.
Oh,
breaking
okay.
Maris's record.
Yeah.
So.
No, I watched that.
Oh, no, McGuire was 70. Bonds was 73.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Sorry.
Yep.
But when he did that, I was watching, and to see it go over the fence, and the we're watching the feed and watching ourselves go crazy, but the goosebumps that I got from knowing that I'm watching history, and Bonds, he can go take a hike. I have no use for that guy in the record books. He did what he did, and I appreciate that. The ability to hit a baseball, hardest thing in sport.
Yep.
But to watch McGuire, and because of the affinity that I had for him for so long, it was just incredible to see that happen and know that what I'm watching, there's not many moments that you get that you know that you're watching history.
Yeah.
And not everyone can say that they knew where they were when that happened.
Yeah.
And that was incredible to me. I loved every second of it.
Yep. So that's number one for me too. Was hitting number 62 to break Maris's record, and I know the date because I'm a numbers guy, and it's an easy one to remember because it was September 8th of 1998. So 9/8/98. It's an easy one to remember. That's the day he broke the record. And the other side note to that is earlier that year, I don't know what homer he was on, back in the teens maybe, pretty low. We actually went to St. Louis that year to watch him. Obviously not knowing that would be the year he broke the record.
No.
But we got tickets for just one game, so we travel back there, fly back there, stay in a hotel for the night, get up the next day to go to the game, and he gets ejected in the first inning.
Oh.
So we fly from Portland.
Halfway across the country.
And he's tossed in his first at bat.
Oh my goodness!
Oh man, it was ridiculous.
That's got to be a tough one to watch. But and I know I said to throw Bonds out because of what he did with steroids and things like that. And I know Big Mac was under the same suspicion,
right.
and I mean he had the androstenedione out. That's how this whole started.
Yeah.
His mistake of leaving that out on the shelf in the locker room, and a reporter just off the cuff saying, well, what's that stuff?
Right.
And then that's what started the whole thing with these guys, and ended up with being, whether it's Clemens or Bonds or whomever it was, or Rafael Palmeiro,
Giambi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, all these ball players that I know that we had a few Yankees in there, so I won't bring that up. And some may be surprised that I didn't list a Yankee event as one of my top.
Jeets?
Yeah, well, but see, that wasn't something that, like when he retired, or the
backhanded shovel pass to the plate versus the A's. That was dynamite.
That was crazy, but that was an historical thing, and that's kind of what I'm going for. And I would rival number 3 with the Yankees winning in '96, winning the first World Series since 70, because it was Donnie Baseball never won one, because they won the year after he retired. Okay. He retired in '95, and they won in '96. Okay. But so I would put that up there. But the Yankees are so good at winning that that was the whole setup for that. But no, the Yankees have just not had that kind of moment that was a life changer, save for what we were talking about with Mariano a little bit ago, when he gave up that blooper to Luis Gonzalez in the 2001 World Series, and I watch a 3-1 lead with the number 1 closer in the history of the game evaporate, and I just see that. And I was sitting on my grandmother's couch in the middle seat. I had just come back from a run at the Lacamas Trail, and I missed the first half of the game or whatever, and then I'm sitting there, and my whole family, except my Uncle Dave and I, are the big Yankee fans, and everyone else was excited the Yankees lost, and I just, again, heart getting ripped out of my chest. So, well, now it's my turn.
Yep.
This is not a top 3, but this goes along with the book that I'm reading right now. I mentioned on the podcast number 41 about negotiating. Is negotiating something that you enjoy? In terms of anything, and not so much negotiating with your kids, but
I would
just
say
in life.
It depends on the situation. Like if I have a vested interest in what I'm negotiating, if it's something that a financial situation. Me personally, like the example that jumps to the top of my head that I love to do. I think my wife thinks I'm nuts, but I love buying car. And just
buying cars.
I love lamp. Just trying to stick it to the dealer. Yep. And just putting my foot down, and there was a couple times
when you got the Kia, you went round and round, or not the Kia,
my Hyundai.
Yeah, the Hyundai.
Yeah, but that too, because I came back. I walked like 2 different times.
Yeah.
And they called me after I walked.
And
the same
a few days, didn't it?
Yes. I think I waited maybe even till the next weekend. I can't remember, but also. There was another one that I walked on too, but that's definitely one. The car that I'm still driving now. That was 6 years ago. But
I remember that it was yesterday.
Yeah, I walked on it because it wouldn't come down to meet my price, and obviously they expect you to cave at some
absolutely.
point. That's their whole deal. So I'm like, I'm not going any lower than that. So if we can't agree on it, I'm done.
Go home, smell you later.
Yeah, exactly. So I walked, and I think later that afternoon, the guy called me and offered me like a little bit lower price, but still not what I wanted. And so I said, no, still no dice. And then I think several days later, he called back yet again. And then finally, I think he came down to like within a couple $100 of my price. So then I'm like, okay, we'll go.
Well, and you had the benefit of negotiating from the most powerful place, which is cash, and I don't need it.
Right.
I want it.
I'm not desperate for something right now.
Exactly. So if you don't want to give me what I'm looking for, I take a hike, Mike.
Yep.
I don't need you. No, because we were at the clinic, and the story of how you were able to do that, which was awesome because you won a writing contest. Wes won a writing contest at a winery in Sonoma.
Yep.
In Sonoma for $10,000. And I mean, when you won that, it was so cool because we were working at the clinic, and you didn't. I mean, you're like, hey, I made the top, because it was in tiers.
Top 3. Yeah, I was. Because they took all the submissions from everybody, and they picked the top 3, and I was one of the top 3 chosen. And then they posted all 3 essays online for a week. And the public got to vote.
Yep.
And it was open voting for a week, and then whoever got the most votes won the 10 Gs, and that was me. Yeah,
that was so awesome. But yeah, I can remember you going through the negotiating process with them because they kept going back and forth and whatnot. So for me, I do enjoy negotiating in all aspects because I think that's almost what, I mean, life revolves around negotiating in one form or another in everything you do. Whether it's marriage, whether it's kids, whether it's financial, whatever it may be, but it's the psychological aspect that I find so interesting and so engaging and just fun.
Yeah.
Because it's a mental warfare, and it's not something that there are any casualties from or anything like that, but it's the one time where you can use your brain power to, as long as you're not doing what I just said, which is coming from a place of weakness,
right,
and having to do it just out of necessity. But when you can walk in there, and even if it is that type, because that adds another aspect to it, another pressure point, if you will, that I actually kind of enjoy. But no, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's something that people are very intimidated by. But if you break it down to its most basic elements, it's listening, and then taking that information and using it for yourself, because the other person more than likely is giving you all the ammunition you need to win the argument, if you will take the time to slow down and listen. But that's where most people fail in negotiating, I believe, is that they're so focused on what their argument is going to be and what the facts of that argument, rather than trying to put themselves in the other person's shoe and then using that against them. And that's why I find it so fun. It's just and I've never bought a new car. I've never had a new car in my life. In fact, I think I've never bought a car from a lot.
Okay.
Oh no, I have once when we bought the Chevy, but we didn't have to go negotiate because they screwed up on the price. No joke. They put the price online, and then we went there, and the price on the window was like $4,000 more, $4,500 more. So we went. I saw the price. Didn't talk to him about it. Got in the truck. Went for a test. We're gonna have a test drive, folks. Come on down here now. We're gonna get you in this truck. No, I went for a test drive, thought it was great. I said, so, here's the price that I saw. Oh, where did you see that? I said, it was on your website. Oh, was it on some other? I said, so I brought it up. I'm like, no, it's right here. And the guy's like, it was the sales manager. Well, I guess there's not much negotiating because we're not going any lower than that. We're taking a pretty big loss because their internet site or whatever had screwed up. And they honored the price, though.
Wow.
So it was literally a 5-minute negotiation because there wasn't one.
Right.
I was more, I mean, I got it for at least $3,000 under Blue Book.
Wow.
So it was when you get a loan and they ask you if you want to take out that gap.
The gap insurance, yeah.
No gap insurance needed whatsoever. So that was I think that's the only car I've ever bought from a car lot.
Okay.
I wish I could do it more because it's just, especially when they're slimy like that.
Yeah.
It's just fun to mess with them.
Yep, absolutely.
Just mess with them. And I just want to see get the car dealer workout where they're just walking back and forth. So
yeah.
Okay, what's your number 2?
Number 2 freestyle topic?
Yes.
Is we can do it'll be a quick one here. It's another top 3, but it won't drag on as long as our sports movie. I don't think. We've done the top 3 foods of different genres and stuff before, but now we're doing our top 3 least favorite foods.
Oh boy.
The 3 foods you hate the most.
Oh wow.
And it can be a meal or it can be a single item or whatever. So
easy. Okay, I've already got this in my head. Number 3, pot roast.
Wow.
Horrible food.
Wow, interesting.
Garbage.
Tia's kind of there with you. She'll chime in a second because she's not a pot roast fan, so I'm sure she'll nod approval for the pot roast.
I don't know why. It stinks. I can't stand the texture.
Yeah.
It's. Ugh. And everyone thinks I'm un-American. You don't like apple pie, right?
Oh no, I do.
No, not what was it? The un-American thing I said you were. Watermelon.
Oh, watermelon. Yeah.
No, but everyone just loves pot roast, and Kim loves it. The boys love it to death. So, of course, they get to have it, and I have a taco or something. But no, pot roast is absolutely one of my least favorite foods to eat. The whole thing, like the potatoes, it gets the flavors get on the potatoes and the carrots, and they're all mushy and. Okay, what's yours?
Number 3 for me is kale.
Ah, yes, that could be number 1 times 10.
Yeah, it's just I like a lot of the greenery, leafy stuff, like spinach and the different lettuces and all that kind of stuff. I like all that stuff, but just something with the kale is just the bitterness, the sharpness to it. It's just the texture is always kind of like just. I don't know. There's something wrong with it. It's like
there's something wrong with it.
I cannot handle kale.
I can't stand it either, and I have not found. Usually there's like things. Not. I'm talking about like ingredients. You can find an application that you can make like Brussels sprouts. Besides my world famous Brussels sprout recipe that you can find on the website, but you can if you put enough butter and bacon with it, they're edible. But kale, I have not found an application that is...
You're exactly right, because Tia likes it, and so she whips it up from time to time, and she's tried numerous applications to try to make it taste better for me. And I've tried probably 4 or 5 different things, like the sauteing with the onions and bacon, and just doing a bunch of different weird stuff in different soups. And it's just, I can still taste that. You can't cover that up.
Yeah, no, there's no winning on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my number 1 as my number 2 as well, because this is how much I dislike it. Curry. There's no...
Look, well, you and T are on the same page, because she hates curry, so she'll probably jump on that one too.
Yeah, I'm trying to rack my head of another food that I really dislike that much, and curry is so far and above. Oh my gosh. And she's in on the KCP account.
Somebody hijacked the KCP account.
Exactly. But no, it stinks. And I've not had the opportunity to travel to another country and have some chicken foot or something like that. But
yeah,
I just cannot stand curry.
Yeah. But yes, kale chips, Tia. Yes, I've tried that too. No
bueno. There's nothing good about it.
Yeah,
I can't say that. So I'll give it 2 here in a minute, but that's how much I dislike curry. It just is no good to me whatsoever. What do you got?
Number 2 is one that you already brought up, is that Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
And again, same thing. Because Tia loves them. And so she's...
What is wrong with our wives?
So she's done several different applications of them, and I can't get past it. There's nothing can make them taste good.
No, not at all. So I'm going to give my number 2 here, just because I feel like I think I need to give this the proper due, and that's corned beef.
Ooh, man!
I know.
Wow.
And it's brisket.
You're hating on the beef here.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like it. A lot of it is textured.
Yeah.
I don't like this. In fact, that's what I used to tell my mom when I was a kid. I don't like that stringy meat, because that's like pot roast is. And corned beef is, I don't know why I dislike it. It just is not, and maybe I haven't tried it enough, but the whole corned beef and cabbage and things like that, I do not enjoy it.
Yeah, and I like corned beef and cabbage well enough, but I would think I like corned beef a lot better in terms of like a deli sandwich application. If you slice it super thin, like a pastrami kind of application.
Now, see, pastrami, top 2 for me in terms of awesome meats.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. So what's your number 1?
Did you go your number 2?
Well, I did curry and
oh yeah, okay. So number 1, lima beans.
Ah, yes. But see, I can get those to where I could eat them.
Ooh.
I don't like the texture of them.
Yeah, that's my issue.
What does it taste? It's like having sand or something. And I know not sand. It's just something.
It's the crunchiness of the shell a little bit. There's that little almost like, because I'm not a kidney beef fan either, and it's the same thick skin that both those beans have, where feels like I'm crunching through a shell. So I don't know. It's just the texture thing gets to me on those.
No, I'll give you the lima beans. Kidney beans, though, when I make my baked beans, in fact, that's one of the recipes or one of the things we should do, because I use burnt ends, pulled pork, and I smoke my baked beans. On point. And I've got to give my mother-in-law credit, because she gave me the recipe. I spruced it up with the smoked meats and stuff, but it is, and I use kidney beans in it, and I love it. I mean, they're not that I want a funny quick story. We were gone at the beach when we went down there for the beach cast.
Right.
We called Brandon, what'd you have for dinner? A can of kidney beans. I think I told you
Yes,
that.
you did. That's
can
right.
The boy didn't want to go get himself something or get something else in the house, so he ate a can of kidney beans. What the heck is going on here? That is nuts. Okay, so next one for me, and we'll probably wrap this up maybe after your next one too.
Okay, yeah, and my other one's a quick one too.
Okay, cool. So if I'm going to go to a sporting event again, if money was not an issue and it didn't matter when, time, anything like that, what sporting event would you attend? And I'm not actually. If you wanted to use the World Cup, like, hey, we're going to go to Brazil and watch the whole thing, I'll give you that. But try to hone in on one game.
A single game?
Or event, I mean, of some sort.
Well, I mean, I could say World Series, but that could be spanning 7 games. So if I had to pick like a singular event, if I could go to a game 7, that would be cool.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'd say Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, when I was thinking about it, Super Bowl is obviously the first thing that pops into your head because it's such a spectacle. But I want it for the actual game itself, and so I think I'm right there with you. A game 7, it is such, and possibly not baseball, hockey.
Ooh.
Hockey game 7s are one of the coolest things ever to watch. I mean, hockey in the playoffs is incredible anyway. I don't know if you're much of a hockey fan at all.
No, I'm not.
But I mean, I really like hockey. I used to go to winter hockey games all the time. I don't understand the sport that much, but because I played it a little bit when I lived in Alaska and whatnot. But a game 7 in the NHL of the Stanley Cup final is one of the neatest things to watch, in my opinion. So I've got to say, if and I would like to do it, kind of because it's been, I don't think a Canadian team has ever won a Stanley Cup. Well, yeah, they have. The Oilers did, I think, back in the old days. But it's been a long time. But I don't want to see like Vegas or something like that. I want to see like the Red Wings against the Oilers, and I don't even know if that's possible based on their leagues. But, but it's just the intensity, and then to cap it all off, the fact that they shake each other's hands at the end of the game is just really, really cool to me.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say if I had to, there's the Olympics and things like that, but those are, I'm just looking at the one game.
Oh yeah, singular event.
So
yeah.
you would say Game 7?
I'd say Game 7 if I could do a Game 7. Otherwise, Super Bowl would be second choice.
Super Bowl is neat. It's so commercialized, and I know that sounds so cliche to say, but it just is. It's one of those things that, it's not even about the game, because if it was truly about the game, you wouldn't have a 45-minute halftime. Right. You wouldn't have 5 hours of pregame, all of that, because it doesn't have anything to do with the game. You're doing, tearful pieces about the guy on crutches and his, whatever. But
so maybe a 1A to that would be college football national championship would be kind of fun.
Oh, yeah. Going to the BCS, especially if it was like UCLA or Beavers
if you
or
had a
something
vested
like
interest in the team, one of the teams was there.
Yeah, that would be really cool, and I think that I really like college athletics more than professional athletics anyway.
Especially maybe basketball too, but definitely basketball because I don't follow pro at all, and I follow college a little bit. But even football wise, I like college a lot.
I like college far more than the pros. I don't. I'll watch some pro. The one thing I like about the pros is that I can turn on any game and enjoy it because they're all so good. Yeah. So, what do you got? What's your next one?
The final.
Your final one.
And this one's courtesy. Wow, I can't talk tonight. Courtesy of my wife. Your top 3 podcasts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good one, Tia.
Yeah.
I like that one. I like that one a lot. Okay, so number 3, and obviously KCP is not.
Yeah, we can't use ours.
We're going to take out all of our podcasts. But number 3, I would say Pardon My Take, which is by Barstool Sports. I know they're not the most fan-friendly and they're misogynistic and things like that. But if you understand that it's all satirical, which a lot of people don't understand, is that these 2 knuckleheads that host it, it's a complete show. They're acting. And if you understand that, go into that knowing it really is pretty darn funny, and they're so quick-witted. It's really neat to me. So if you have a chance, it's called Pardon My Take. It's the number 1 sports podcast out there, I believe. So check that out. What do you got?
Number 3 for me is one I actually stumbled across fairly recently, and one that he actually hasn't been doing very long. I think he started like in April or something. That is Dennis Miller.
Yeah.
And he is and that's definitely not a kid-friendly one.
No, it's
but
not.
Man, it is awesome because he has really good guests on. Because obviously, with all his years in the business, he knows a lot of people, so he gets a lot of cool people to come on. Like one of my favorites so far that he's done is having Dana Carvey on. That was a great show.
How talented is he?
Oh man,
unbelievable.
But yeah,
talented.
So he's had numerous high-profile guests on there, and what really strikes me that's so funny to listen to him about is the production value. They are bare bones. Like,
were they out in the yard with?
They're like, seriously, like the first time I listened to it, I'm like, this sounds like us, because you can hear him like he's bumping the table, like if he drops the glass down, or
the dog's panting next to him.
Like one time, it's just he and his sidekick. So there's just 2 guys on the podcast. Mm-hmm. But this one time, he was talking and he's like, "Oh man, it just get cold in here. I'm really cold." And his sidekick's name is Christian, and he's like, "Christian, you run with it for a second." So you can hear him scooting the chair back. And he goes and grabs himself a jacket and then comes and sits back down. So you can hear him like walking around the room. It's totally low budget. It's hilarious.
I love it.
It's like they are doing it out of a legit studio, but there's obviously the mics they're using or whatever don't have much deadening to them because it picks up everything. So they're totally, relaxed and laid back, yet he still has these high profile guys come on. It's a lot of fun to listen to.
I really like that. And the fact that he doesn't take himself too seriously,
absolutely, yeah.
Which for Dennis Miller is sometimes is kind of surprising. But Miller's you've got to appreciate him for the type of comedy,
right?
And you have to, because it can be so just off the wall.
He is. Yeah, he can get kind of way out there.
I liked him on Monday Night Football.
I did too,
but I don't think he translated well to the vast majority of viewers. So, so number 2 for me is going to be Tim Ferriss. The Tim Ferriss podcast, I highly recommend for anyone that is into the kind of, he's into self-help and stuff like that to some degree, but he looks at things, he's really big into efficiency and teaching people how to do things, but in a more efficient, not so much better manner, but in a way that it basically helps them to make their life better by using efficiency. And so, and he also gets into some things that are not really PC, like the use of psychedelics in terms of mental illness. And he gets into mental illness and things like that because he's had some battles with it. And so I really like it when people are open like that. And they're kind of an open book to the fact that they're a human. And they're not afraid of being a human.
Right.
And so if I had to nail one person down in terms of podcasting realm as to why I wanted to get into this, he is the one that got me into this, because I started listening to him years ago. I've got one of his books, which is called The 4-Hour Work Week. Recommend that, but that's what I started listening to him, and he's very empowering, but he's not empowering in a way that is like the Tony Robbins type way.
Right.
He was a big angel investor in Uber, Facebook, Twitter, things like that. So he's financially, he said he's got a big. I think he went to Princeton, stuff like that, but you wouldn't know it. Totally cool, chill guy. He had, and so anyway, I won't continue on. But yeah, check Tim Ferriss out. He's what I'll do is I will put some show notes in there so that you guys can go to these podcasts. I'll put links in the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what's your number two?
Number two for me is the Ben Shapiro show.
See, I have not listened to it.
He is really the guy is I think the reason I gravitate towards him so much is I think he is basically spot on with me ideologically. He's a conservative, but he's not a homer that's in love with Trump, so he's not afraid to call Trump out. It's like we do all the time. Trump does something stupid, he runs with that front and center and calls him out on how stupid he's being. But he's still conservative ideologically like I am. So politics, his line of thinking in politics are right in line with mine. Like everything he says is exactly what I agree with. And just also knowing him as the background, he is just as sharp as a tack. He was and still is the youngest nationally syndicated columnist.
Really?
In the history of the U.S. He got a syndication at the age of 17. He was
really
nationally published in a syndicated column that was picked up by all the major newspapers nationwide. At 17 years old, he was writing the column.
No kidding.
And he started UCLA. I think at 16 years old, he was in UCLA.
He's an attorney, isn't he?
He has a law degree, but yeah, he does this kind of stuff full time. He doesn't practice, but yeah. So he went to UCLA first. Started at 16 at UCLA. Graduated from there and then went to Harvard Law and got his law degree from Harvard. But he's not a practicing attorney. He does political speaking and his own podcast, and he's got his own network and stuff like that too.
The Daily Wire, correct?
Yeah.
And I'll watch his show every once in a while, and I read far more by him than, and that's kind of how I am. I would rather read things than watch them usually anyway, or listen, because for me to retain things, I need to read it.
Yeah.
I'm far better at that than watching, but. No, and that's really cool that, it's kind of what we aim for as well, is if you do something stupid, we're going to call you on it. And it doesn't have to be Trump, it can be anyone.
Right.
But if you do something good, we're also going to praise you for that. So you get both sides of the spectrum, which I think is a very positive thing. So, well, number one for me, I'm going to have two of them because I want to give both these guys their due. First, I think the number one would be in 1A, but number one would be Jocko Willink. He started podcasting kind of like me because of Tim Ferriss. Ferriss had him on as he was promoting his book, Extreme Ownership, and Jocko Willink was a SEAL, a Navy SEAL, and then he was the commander of SEAL training on the West Coast for several years, and his big thing is just making sure that as a leader you are the one that accepts ownership for whatever your team needs to do. It's not about excuses, it's not about blame, it's not about things like that. It's about, if something's wrong, you take the bull by the horns because you are the leader and you go take care of it. And if something's bad, his kind of tagline is good. He just says, well, we're out of food. Good. Like, yes, there's challenges, but those challenges present something that we can overcome, and we can learn, and we can build and become better because of that. And the quick 1A I will say to that is Mike Rowe. His podcast is so cool.
Tia will jump on that one. She loves. Yeah.
I love it because it's only 10 to 13 minutes long, and he's such a good writer. Not so much as, I mean, his voice is really cool, and you're along the lines of Mike when it comes to voice. It's just, you have a superior voice on the radio, but his writing style, and he's so down to earth.
Yes.
And his connection, you can feel that connection with him, I think. And it's easily consumable. It's 10 minutes, so you can crank 2 or 3 of them out, get 2 or 3 really cool stories, and you're only out a half an hour.
Yep.
And it's not topical or anything like that. And the way he writes them so that there's this climax, and it's so cool. And then he just drops it in like a sentence or two, and then off he goes. Along the lines of Paul Harvey. That's kind of who
he's modeled after.
Yeah, exactly.
Same kind of deal.
Those two guys. I highly recommend you listen to both those guys if you're into that. What's your number one?
Number one for me, and it was tough between this and Shapiro because I like them both pretty much equally, but I would have to give maybe a slight edge. And that's Steven Crowder, his Louder with Crowder podcast. And I like him because I'm a politics junkie, and I like good writing and comedy as well. So he fulfills all that. He runs his podcast kind of like we do, where he'll touch on a bunch of different news stories of the day or the week. But then he just goes off on these tangents and he's a stand-up comic by trade, so he's a really good comedian. And they just have so much fun on their show. He's got guests come in studio, and they just do all these weird, stupid stunts. And it's a mixture of news and information and comedy, like all rolled into one. It's a real blast to listen to.
He is, and I've listened to him a few times off your recommendation, and he is a kick in the pants.
Yeah.
And I like the back and forth that he has with everyone. And I haven't listened to him a lot, but I have enjoyed the time that I have listened to him. So. That's he's a good one too. I highly recommend that. And with the ones that we have, there's a good balance between fun and informative and learning and things like that. And I think that's what podcasts can help service with. They're a great way for us to learn. So. And
that's kind of why I put Crowder above Shapiro. Shapiro's pretty straight-laced. He'll throw a little comedy in there. Yeah. But I like the fact that Crowder can do a good balance of giving you your news and politics kind of stuff, and also throw a good dose of comedy in there too. Like the big thing that Shapiro always does is he mocks Trump's voice. So he'll read on every episode. Shapiro will read like a bunch of stupid tweets that Trump did, and he'll read it in Trump's voice. Oh, and he does a really good job at that.
How often does he drop?
Every day.
Every day.
They're
not Crowder, Shapiro.
Yeah, I said both of them are daily podcasts. With Crowder, you have to pay. His is a subscription based, but the Friday ones are free, so you can listen to every Friday free. Shapiro is same model. It's a subscription model. However, I think he does a 2 or 3 hour show. And
because his is a radio show.
But you can listen free every day, but only the first hour. They cut it after the first hour, so you can basically make a daily show, and he covers all the big stuff up front. So I don't know what he moves on to after that, but I feel like I'm the cheapskate that listens for free. But I feel like I'm getting a full show just in that 1 hour. I know he cuts it and goes on after that to cover other topics. But
how much does it cost?
I don't know. I want to. I should know because he obviously promotes it every time. I think is it $99 a year?
Oh, okay.
Maybe I think they're both. I think both he and Crowder both do $99 a year on their podcast.
Under $10 a month, which is fairly appropriate for a daily show. I mean,
and I think both he and Crowder do like 3 hour shows. They're long shows. So.
Yeah, that's and for as we sit here and we do an hour, to do 3 hours on a daily basis without commercials.
Yes.
That is the big thing, because we listen to Dan Patrick or any of the nationally syndicated radio shows. They're only doing 36 minutes an hour of actual radio, and they're always recapping everything, because in radio, what is it, every 15 minutes they say you have a new audience, something like that.
Catch them up to
stuff. So you're bringing it back. But when you're doing a podcast for 3 hours with no commercials, that's a pretty big undertaking. And
that obviously means you need a ton of content, too.
Oh, and you got to have great producers behind you. Yep. So, well, I think that's going to wrap up the freestyle. Once again, we had absolute blast. I am going to drop a holy shit fact of the day on you today that I was reading this morning, and I found this astounding. And it was on, I believe, WebMD was where I found this, but the human body produces 1 to 1.5 liters, not of cola, of mucus. Absolutely disgusting, I know, but I found that incredible.
That's daily, right?
Daily.
Yeah.
A liter of not cola, but mucus. Can you believe that?
It's a lot of fluid.
That is a lot of fluid.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Will you have crunch time?
I do.
Let's rock and roll. Hit it.
It's crunch time / promotion time.
There we go.
And that's what we're going to be doing this Saturday,
there we
which
go.
will be tomorrow as you're listening to this on our podcast. Will and I and our wives are headed to Chehalis for the Washington State Garlic Festival.
Yeah.
And I am extremely fired up about that because I love everything garlic. It's like my favorite vegetable.
Are you going with the ice cream, though?
I will, yep.
You're going to try
Because I've never had it, so I figured what the heck.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, like Wes was saying, we're going to live stream.
We're going to live stream. I think we'll try to do a live stream on a whole bunch of the food that we try.
That will be a kick in the pants.
Yep.
I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. I do not have a crunch time off the top of my head because the one that I had written we're actually going to save for a full segment on Monday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bow out because I don't have one off the top of my head, and I don't want to just come up with something like that. So you'll hear on Monday, we're going to expand the topic, and since Monday's show is always a little bit more serious than the freestyle show, we'll have a little fun with that. But so without further ado, and I don't know why I say without further ado, because usually that means that something's about to begin. But I always say it when we're ending. So I apologize for that. But do you have anything else for us?
No, just if you're out and about, or not out and about, but if you're near a mobile device or your home computer on Saturday, be looking out for us because we'll probably do, I'm guessing, a bunch of little mini food reviews. So we'll start and stop our live stream as we go around hunting down different food items. But I think we're trying to get there at 10 a.m. when they open. Yeah,
we're going to get there, and that's why we were making the comments earlier about being a little pungent because we are going to have the garlic just emanating from our pores. And so I think what we should do is have all that garlic and then go run for like an hour, and then we'll really be pungent. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for listening to the Kinetic Chaos Podcast number 42. I'm Will.
I'm Wes. We'll see you in a couple days from the Garlic Festival.
Thank you very much. We gone. That's our longest show ever, bud. I think. Hour 20.
I think we're ready for the 3-hour dailies.
Exactly. Everyone watching, Becca, I see your message on here.
Beans.
I'll make some.
You didn't finish the...
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to do that. So I don't know if you're still watching or not, but I'll put a post up there. I'll make them. I'm going to have a big barbecue here pretty soon to have everyone over, just because I like to have barbecue. Probably on a Saturday, maybe a little Oregon State football. Eric can come on over. We'll have the TVs on and stuff like that. So I'll make some baked beans for that, I promise you. I don't know if I can let the recipe go, though. It's an old family. No, it's
closely guarded.
Yes, no. My sauce recipes, those are all very secretive. But no, the baked beans are absolutely incredible. Got to have the pulled pork and the brisket in them, though. I think even more, though, important than the brisket or than the pulled pork is the burnt ends.
Oh.
Getting those in there and having that just, I can taste it.
Yeah. The jowls are working overtime.
That's some good stuff. So, well, thank you guys all for watching. We appreciate it. We will see you on Saturday.
Yeah, tune in. Just after 10 a.m. probably.
We won't
start
be
going
wearing
live.
a bib, though. Will you?
I don't know.
We might have to wear a bib. It could get crazy. If
we
they
want
have
to cover up
fries,
our KCP t-shirt. We got to rep KCP while we're up there.
We're repping KCP, and it's not going to be so dang hot. It's going to be so awesome.
It's going to be like in the low 60s when we're there on Saturday.
Yes.
It's gonna be, you're going to be wearing a parka.
I know,
it's
but
going to cover up your KCP
I'm
stuff.
not. No. I may go long sleeve underneath.
There you go.
But I'm just ready to not sweat.
Yeah.
Constantly and feel sticky because with all this smoke we've had lately, it's been really kind of.
Clearing up though, I can see some blue sky though. So
it's so comfortable out here right now. It's just dang perfect. So, with that being said, I think the feed actually just froze on us. So,
It did.
Nope.
Andy, you're tuning in at the very end.
Sorry, Andy. Thanks
back.
for watching.
You gotta rewind.
Last few minutes, but we'll see you guys soon.
See ya.
And have fun. It's Friday. Almost.